Welcome to the class, students. Today we are going to discuss chapter 7, plants, form and functions. So students, in this chapter we are going to discuss about the plants. Get it? Their parts, their different types and their functions. Get it? Let's warm up. Look at the picture of a plant and label it different parts. So students, all of you know about the parts of a plant because these are very basic, so you can do it by yourself. Let's know about types of plants, trees, shrubs and herbs, climbers and creepers, parts of flowering plant, structure and functions of different parts of plant. So these are the topics we are going to discuss in this chapter. Let's begin. Plants are major component of our ecosystem. They are found everywhere in every type of climate. Some of them are very small and others are bigger. Let's learn how plants are classified into different groups according to their size and types of stem. So students, हमारे जो plants हैं वो different type के होते हैं और उनके different parts के according भी हम उनको classify करते हैं. Okay students, now activity 1. Go on a nature walk and look around. Observe closely the kinds of plants and study their stems carefully. That means students, आप बाहर जाओ, अपने आसपास plants को observe करो, उनके stems को observe करो, तो आपको कुछ अलग दिखाई देगा. Okay. Now we have types of plants. Trees. These are big plants with thick, hard brown stem, which is called trunk. Their stems branch out and roots go deep in the soil. For example, trees, guava, people and banyan. Trees like coconut, date palm and do not have branches. So these are the different type of trees, students, जिनमें कुछ में branches होती हैं, कुछ में नहीं, but they all are trees. Now we have shrubs. These are plants of woody stem. They have branches near the surface of the soil and do not grow as tall as tree. For example, rose and bougainvillea. So students, shrubs कैसे होते हैं? Look at the picture. These are shrubs. Shrubs कैसे होते हैं? वो होते तो उनकी जो stem है वो थोड़ी woody होती है, but वो trees जितने long tall नहीं होते. Here is herbs. These plants are usually short and may not have many branches. They have soft and flexible stems. The color of the stem is green. Mint, tomato, tulsi and coriander are some examples of herbs. So students, you get it? These are herbs. Now we have creepers and climbers. These are weak-stemmed plants and hence cannot grow erect without support. Creepers spread horizontally along the soil. For examples, watermelon, pumpkin and bitter gourd. The other type of climbers, they take support of an object or a tree for climbing. They simply twine in a spiral way around the support available on them. For examples, money plants, pea and grapevines are climbers. So students, creeper और climber में difference क्या है? जो आपके creepers होते हैं वो horizontally जाते हैं. Horizontally that means वो आपके ground की support लेते हैं, जैसे watermelon, pumpkin. So these जो उनकी जो आपकी बेल आपने देखी होगी आसपास अपने, तो वो कैसे होती है? Horizontally होती है. But like money plant, grapevine, so वो कैसे आपके stand करती हैं? वो किसी भी plant या किसी wall की support से वो vertically upward direction में grow करते हैं. Get it students? Annual, biennial and perennial plants. Annual plants. Annual plants survive only for 1 year or one season. Herbs are generally annual plants. Example of annual plants are mustard, wheat, gram, maize, paddy, green gram, moong, tomato, brinjal, balsam, sweet pea, petunia, etc. So these are annual plants. Get it students? Now biennial plants. Complete their life cycle in 2 years. During the first year, they develop vegetable part, that means root, stem and leaves. Flowers and fruits develop only in the second year. Radish, turnip, etc. are some biennial plants. Get it students? Now we have perennial plants. Perennial plants are shrubs and trees. They live for more than 2 years. Mango, guava, neem, peepal, jamun, babool, plum, jasmine, lemon, henna, etc. are some perennial plants. So students, this is the difference between annual, biennial and perennial plants. It's all about their life cycle. Get it? Now we have parts of flowering plant. All the flowering plants have two main systems, namely root system and shoot system. Here is root system. Root system is the underground non-green part of a plant. It consists of a primary root and its branches. Get it, students? Now we have check and mate, as we already read about these things, so you can do it by yourself. Now we read about the characteristics of roots. Here is characteristics of roots. Roots are non-green underground parts of a plant. They develop from the radicle of the seed. So students, root क्या है? आपका underground part है, आपके seed के radicle से बनती है and वो कहाँ होती है? Underground. Look at this picture. These are the parts of flowering plant. Here is root system, shoot system. In root system, root. Then in shoot system, stem, internode, node, fruit, leaf, flower. Get it, students? Now, they grow towards soil and water. They grow away from sunlight. They do not have nodes and internodes. They have many lateral branches called secondary and tertiary roots. So, students, roots कहाँ grow करती हैं? Away from the sunlight. ना कोई नोड होता है ना कोई इंटरनोड होता है, उनकी लेटरल ब्रांचेस होती हैं जिनको हम सेकेंडरी और टर्शियरी रूट्स बोलते हैं. नाउ वी हैव टाइप्स ऑफ रूट्स. Root systems are of two types, namely taproot and fibrous root. Here is taproot. Taproot, in this root, primary root is thick and low. It grows vertically downwards in the soil. It is also called the true root. Taproot is found in dicot plants, for examples mustard, gram, bean, pea, mango, carrot, radish, etc. So students, जो tap root होती है वो vertically downward जो है वो grow करती है. Look at the picture. This is a tap root, primary root, secondary root, tertiary root. And this is fibrous root, and these are two types of roots. Now we have fibrous root. Fibrous root, in this root, primary root is short-lived. It is placed by a cluster of fiber-like roots. All the branches arises from the base of a stem and spread out in the soil. Fibrous roots are found in monocot plants, for examples maize, wheat, rice, barley, grasses, etc. Let us perform an activity to study taproot and fibrous root. So students, fibrous root आपको किसमें मिलती है? Barley, wheat, maize, rice. Get it? Now we have an activity, activity 2. Aim to study the taproot and fibrous root. Procedure: request your school gardener to uproot a grass plant and a balsam or mustard plant carefully. Wash the soil from the roots. Put the plants into a shallow tray filled with water to spread the lateral roots. Note down the differences between the roots of grass and balsam or mustard. Here is observation. Roots of grass are thin, thread-like, many in number and in cluster, while balsam or mustard plant has one thick root with many side branches. Conclusion: grasses have fibrous roots, while balsam or mustard has taproot. Get it, students? Here we have functions of roots. The normal functions of roots in all plants are as follows. Look at the first point. Root hairs absorb water and mineral from the soil and send them to the other parts of the plant. Water and mineral are needed by the plants for growth and preparation of food. Look at the second point. Root is the main part of the plant. They hold the soil and prevent it from getting eroded. Come to the next. In some plants like carrot, turnip, beetroot, etc., the roots are swollen. This is due to the stored food. Come to the next. Some plants that grows in marshy areas have secondary roots coming out of the soil. These plant roots are highly porous and help in respiration. Examples: Avicennia black mangrove and Rhizophora red mangrove. Come to the next. Root hold the soil particles firmly to prevent soil erosion. So students, if we are talking about the functions of roots, तो क्या होता है mainly root का function कि वो आपकी soil से absorb करती है minerals को, water को और plant की सभी parts में क्या कर देती है, transfer कर देती है और food making में help करती है. ओके बट हर एक प्लांट की रूट थोड़ी डिफरेंट होती है. तो जैसे अगर हम बात करें आपकी रेडिस है, टर्निप है, उसमें क्या होता है कि रूट स्वेल हो जाती है. वो वहां क्यों स्वेल होती है? क्योंकि उसमें फूड स्टोर होता है. गेट इट स्टूडेंट्स? नाउ वी हैव prop root. Prop roots are the roots that arise on the branches and grow downwards. They give extra support to the plants. Banyan tree have prop roots. Look at this picture. That's how prop roots of banyan tree look like. Let us perform an activity to show that roots anchor the plant firmly in the soil. Activity 3. Aim to show that roots anchor the plants firmly in the soil. Materials required: a pot, garden soil, gram seeds and water. Here is procedure. Take a pot filled with garden soil, place a few gram seeds in it. Water it daily for about a week. After a week, when seeds grow, try to pull out a seedling from the pot. How much force did you need to pull it out? Keep the pot for another week. The seedling grow into small plants. Now try to pull a plant from the pot. How much force did you need to pull the plant out this time? Observation. More force is needed to pull out the plant second time. This is because the root of the grown-up plant is bigger than the root of seedling and has grown deep in the pot. Here is conclusion. It is concluded that roots anchor the plant firmly in the soil. Get it, students? So that's how you can perform this activity. It's very easy. You can perform at your homes. Let us perform an activity to show that roots absorb water. Activity 4. Aim to show that roots absorb water. So अब हम activity कर रहे हैं किस लिए कि roots water को absorb करते हैं. Okay. Now we have materials required: a radish, a glass, water, red color and a knife. Look here, procedure. Take a radish, place it in a glass containing red colored water. Leave the set up for a day. Next day, take the radish out and cut it lengthwise. Observation. The red color has spread throughout the radish and red colored tubes appear extending all along the length of the radish. Conclusion. The red color shows the passage of water through the radish, so it can be concluded that root absorbs water. So students, इसका मीनिंग क्या है? सपोज आप कोई भी रेडिश लो, उसको आप एक ग्लास में रखो. किस ग्लास में? जिसमें आपने रेड कलर का वाटर रखा हो. रेड कलर आप बना सकते हैं, मिक्स करोगे वाटर में कलर तो वो रेड कलर का हो जाएगा. जब आप उसे देखेंगे कुछ एक दिन के बाद तो क्या आपको दिखाई देगा कि जो रेडिश है वो रेड कलर की होगी, हल्की हल्की. आप उसको लेंथ वाइज कट करोगे तो उसमें रेड कलर की ट्यूब्स दिखाई देंगी. वो क्यों? ये आपको प्रूव करता है कि आपकी रूट्स जो है वो वाटर को एब्जॉर्ब करती है. Let us perform an activity to show that roots bind soil particles together. Activity 5. Aim to show that roots bind soil particles together. Materials required: 2 baskets, a polythene, garden soil, bean seeds and water. Here is procedure. Take 2 baskets and spread polythene in them. Now fill the baskets with garden soil. Sow some seeds of bean in the basket A and leave the basket B bare. Water them daily for 1 week till the seeds germinate and seedlings grow in the small plants. Now, look at this picture. That's how you can water your plants. Place both the baskets inclined under the taps. Let the water fall over them with the same force. Observation. What happens? Observation. Very less soil is washed away from the basket A, while much soil is washed away from the basket B. Conclusion. The result clearly indicates that roots bind the soil particles together. Get it, students? Now we have modifications of root. In some plants, roots are specialized to carry out some other function besides anchorage and absorption. These specialized functions are as follows. Look at the pictures first. Turnip, carrot, food storing roots. First we have storage of food. The tap roots of radish, turnip, beetroot and carrot store food, so they are swollen and fleshy. Here, support. Some of the roots provide support to the plant. The support roots are of 2 types, namely stilt root and prop roots. Now we have stilt roots. In bamboo, maize and sugarcane, adventitious roots arise from the lower nodes and grow downwards. These are called stilt roots. They provide additional support to the plant. Now we have prop roots. Rope roots in banyan and rubber tree, additional roots grow downwards from their horizontal branches. These rope-like roots are called prop roots. They penetrate into the soil and act as a pillar to support the heavy branches. Climbing roots. The plants of betel, black pepper and money plant have climbing roots. These roots arise from the nodes. They help the plant to stick and climb up the wood, rock or other trees. Now look at these pictures. Stilt root, prop roots, climbing roots, supporting and climbing roots. Now we have check and mate. As we already read about these things, so you can do it by yourself. Here is shoot system. Shoot system is the aerial part of a plant. It includes stem, branches, leaves, flowers and fruits. It develops from the plumule of the seed. Here is stem. The stem is the main axis of the shoot system. It is green in herbaceous plants but woody and hard in shrubs and trees. The stem of the tree is called the trunk. It is covered with bark. Here we have characteristics of a stem. The stem grows towards light and away from the soil and water. It grows just opposite in the roots direction. It has nodes and internodes. The axillary buds give rise to new branches. The stem bears leaves, branches, buds, flowers and fruits. Young stems are green but older and woody stems are non-green and hard. The stem connects the root system with the rest parts of the plant. Here is functions of a stem. It acts as connect. Look at the first point we have. It acts as a connecting link by transporting water and minerals from the roots to the other parts and food from the leaves to the parts of the plant. So students, stem क्या है? Connecting system की तरह काम करता है. कैसे? कि वो root से mineral और water को पूरे plant में transfer करता है और खाने को leaves से भी पूरे plant में transfer करता है. Here is second point. It holds them upright so that leaves get maximum sunlight. Come to the next. Stems in some plants also store food. These are called modified stems. For example, plants like potato and ginger. Look at this picture. Scar of a scale leaf, germinating eye bud, scar of a stem, and this is a potato. Come to the fourth point. In climbers, stems have modified trait like coiled growths called tendrils to twine around any support. Come to the next. In plants found in deserts, the stem is green and carries out photosynthesis. It is also thick and fleshy to store water. Here is activity 6. Aim to show that water is conducted through the stem. Materials required: a glass, water, red ink and a twig with white flower. So these are the things you need. Now look here. Procedure. Take a glass and fill 1/3 of it with water. Add a few drops of red ink to it and stir well. Now cut the obliquely a twig from a plant having a white flower like petunia or balsam and put it in the glass. Leave the setup overnight. Observe carefully the next morning. Look at this picture. That's how you have to set up and leave it for one night. Now come to the next observation. Petals of the flower and veins of the leaves have become red. Here is conclusion. This shows that red colored water has traveled up through the stem into the leaves and flowers. The thin red colored lines are xylem vessels through which water travels from roots to different parts of the shoot. Get it, students? So it's very easy. You can perform this activity with the help of your teacher in your laboratory. Next topic, we are going to discuss modifications of a stem. In certain plants, a stem is modified to carry out special functions besides support and conduction. These functions are as follows. So students, अब तक हमने stem के बारे में read किया कि stem क्या करती है, support करती है, but stem support के साथ साथ और भी बहुत सारे functions हैं जो perform करती है. Let's read about them. Manufacture of food. The green stem of annual plant synthesizes food by photosynthesis. In cacti, the stem becomes green and in some succulents leaf like to make food. So is plants green stem of cactus. Look at this picture. So cactus की stem जो है वो food को synthesize करती है. Get it, students? Here, storage of food in potato, ginger, turmeric, onion, etc. The stem grows underground and stores food. This type of stem remains underground and gives rise to aerial shoots in the next season. This is called perennation. Now come to the next. In potatoes, modified stem is called tuber. It has number of buds called eyes. Each bud can grow into an aerial shoot. Get it, students? Now come to the next point. In ginger, the underground stem swells up in the irregular form and is called rhizome. It has nodes, internodes, buds and scaly leaves. Now we have in onion, garlic, lily, etc. the leaves store food and become fleshy. They overlap each other and are attached to a disc. This disc is the reduced stem. Such modified stems are called bulbs. Look at these pictures. Stems modified to store food. Potato, ginger, zimicund and onion. Now look at this picture of onion, stem reduced to a disc. Get it, students? Now we have next point, support. In some plants like grapevine and passion flower, the stem is weak and some its branches are modified into thread-like structures. These structures are tendrils. They are called stem tendrils. They arises from the axil of leaves and coil around the support. So students, कभी-कभी आपकी स्टेम जो है टेंड्रिल्स की फॉर्म में अराइज होती है और वो सपोर्ट लेने के लिए हेल्प करती है प्लांट्स की. Look at the picture. Stem tendril, stem thorns, stem modified for support and protection. Here is protection. In rose, lemon, bougainvillea, etc., the stem bears thorns. These thorns protect the plant from grazing animals. Leaves, the food factories of the plant. The leaves are green and flattened structures. They rise from the nodes of the stem and branches. Here is a structure of a leaf. A typical leaf consists of the following parts. Look at the first, leaf base. A leaf is attached to the stem with its leaf base. Look at this picture, students. Parts of a leaf, leaf base, petiole, vein, midrib, lamina, leaf blade. So these are the parts of a leaf. Here is petiole. It is the leaf stalk. It connects the leaf blade with the leaf base. Leaves with the petiole are called stalked leaves, while leaves without a petiole are called sessile leaf. Petiole is absent in monocot leaves. Lamina or leaf blade. This is the green, flat and expanded part of the leaf. Come to the next, midrib and veins. The midrib forms the middle axis of the leaf blade. It is the extension of petiole. The lateral branches arising from the midrib are called veins. The vein branch into fine veinlets. The network formed by the veins and veinlets in the lamina is called venation. Here is stomata. Leaves bear tiny pores called stomata. These can be seen only under a microscope. So students, you can see stomata under a microscope. Here is functions of a leaf. The first is photosynthesis. You all know about the photosynthesis because we read about the photosynthesis from our childhood. In the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, green leaves with the help of water, minerals and carbon dioxide prepare their food. This plant food is a kind of sugar called glucose. During food making, the leaves give off oxygen. This process of making food by green plants is called photosynthesis. This may be written as, look here, carbon dioxide plus water, energy from sunlight, chlorophyll into leaf. After reaction, it will be glucose plus oxygen. The glucose produced in the process of photosynthesis is stored in the leaf as starch. As green leaves prepare food, they are called the food factories or kitchen of the plant. Here is, we have an activity 7. Aim to study the presence of starch in leaves. Materials required, a fresh green leaf, a water bath, water, alcohol and iodine. Procedure, take a fresh green leaf from any plant which was kept in the presence of sunlight for quite some time for photosynthesis. Then, to take place, boil the leaf in water for at least 5 minutes. Then, boil the leaf in alcohol, ethanol, keeping in water bath for some time to remove the green color so that the effect of the color is clearly visible. Now wash the leaf in the cold water, add few drops of iodine on it. What do you observe? Look at this picture. That's how you have to set your setup. Look here, boiling water, leaf, asbestos gauze, water bath, ethanol, boiling tube, tripod stand, burner. And this is the testing a leaf for starch. Now we have observation and conclusion. The leaf turns blue-black in color, indicating the presence of starch. Note, the glucose formed in the leaves by photosynthesis is converted into starch. Here, now we have flower. Flower is the most attractive part of the flowering plants. It is the reproductive part of the plant and helps in the sexual reproduction. So students, जो हमारे plant का reproduction होता है वो किस part में होता है? Flower में. Now we have a structure of a flower. A typical flower has the following parts. The first we have pedicel. The stalk of the flower is called pedicel. A flower is attached to the plant with its pedicel. Then we have thalamus. It is the upper swollen end of the pedicel. All the floral parts are attached to the thalamus. Sepals. Sepals are green leaf-like structures in a bud. They enclose and protect the inner walls of the flower. They are usually 5 in number. The wall formed by sepals is called calyx. Calyx is the outermost wall of the flower. Now we have petals. Petals are brightly colored and the most attractive part of a flower. They may be sweet-scented. They attract insects for pollination. The wall formed by petals is called corolla. Look at this picture, students. We have different parts of flower. Look here. Parts of flower start here: pedicel, thalamus, ovary. Then we have style, stigma, anther, filament, petal, sepal, and ovules. So these are the different parts of a flower. Now we have stamens. These are male reproductive organs of a flower. They form the third wall of the flower. Each stamen has two parts, namely a long and narrow filament and the anther. Come to the next. The filaments are attached to the thalamus and the anthers have pollen grains. Our pollen grains contain male gametes. Now we have carpels or pistils. Look here, carpels or pistils. Carpels form the fourth and the innermost wall of the flower. This flower is the female reproductive part. Each carpel has 3 parts. Look here. The first is the swollen basal part of the carpel is called ovary. It contains ovules and ovule contains female gamete. Come to the next. The long thread-like middle part is called a style. Then we have the terminal expanded part of a style is called a stigma. It is sticky to trap the pollen grains during pollination. So students, these are the different parts of a flower. Now, let's perform as activity to study different parts of a flower. Look here, activity 8. Aim to study different parts of a flower. Materials required: a mustard flower, 4 shapes, etc. Look at this picture. This is a flower, pedicel, sepal, pistil, stamens and petal. So these are the different parts. Now we have procedure. Take a mustard flower and observe its all parts. Separate its parts with the help of forceps. Count its various parts. Draw and label different parts of the flower. Here is observation. Color yellow, pedicel present, calyx 4 sepals green, corolla 4 petals yellow, stamens 6, pistil 1. Pollination and fertilization. The transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is called pollination. It takes place in 2 ways. These ways are as follows. So pollination कितने ways में होता है students? 2 ways है. और pollination होता क्या है जब आपके pollen grains anther से stigma पे transfer होते हैं. Look here. First we have when the pollen grains from the anther of a flower are transferred to the stigma of the same flower or to the stigma of another flower on the same plant, it is called self-pollination. Now come to the next. When the pollen grains from the anther of the stigma of one plant are transferred to the stigma of flower of another plant of the same type through different agencies such as wind, water, insects, etc., it is called cross-pollination. So students, अगर आपका pollination same flower में होता है, so that is self-pollination. अगर दूसरे flowers के साथ होता है, that is cross-pollination. After the pollination, the male gamete from the pollen grains travels down to the ovule or fuse with the female gamete called egg. This process is called fertilization. The fertilized egg is called the zygote. It grows into an embryo which develops into a new plant. Once the egg is fertilized, the petals, sepals and stamens fall off. The ovary grows into a fruit and the ovule changes into a seed. Here, functions of a flower. The important functions of a flower are as follows. Look at the first. Flowers are reproductive organ of plants. The ovary of flower develops into fruit and its ovules form seeds. The seeds grows into new plants. Come to the next. Flowering plants are grown to beautify the surroundings. Then we have the nectar of flowers is collected by honeybees to prepare honey. Come to the next. Perfumes are prepared from flowers. Then we have cloves are dried flower buds. These are used for flavoring food and as a medicine. So students, these are the functions of flowers and we read about the different part of plants and their functions in this chapter. Now we have check and mate. Now you read about these things so you can do it by yourself. Come to the next. What we learn in this chapter, now we will discuss it in a nutshell. Trees are tall and large plants with hard and woody stems. Herbs are small plants with soft and green stems. Shrubs are bushy plants with woody stems. All the flowering plants have two main systems, namely root system and shoot system. Root system is the underground non-green part of a plant. Shoot system consists of stems, leaves, flowers, fruits and buds. The stem helps in conducting water and nutrients to different parts of a plant. Flower is the reproductive part of the plant. The transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is called pollination. Here is some keywords. Biennial, a period of 2 years. Perennial, lasting for a long time. Radicle, the body root in a seed. Node, the point on a stem where a leaf or a branch grows from. Internode, the part of the stem between two adjacent nodes. Plumule, the body shoot in a seed. So these are some keywords. Thank you students. We will meet again in the next chapter with some new concepts.